What's up, everybody? The Diablo 4 beta released yesterday, and I have been playing it non-stop. I played it from the minute it came out at like 4 p.m. UK time until early hours of the morning when I finished the first act, which is as much as they let you play in the beta version of the game. And I've done some other side stuff today, this morning as well. And I just wanted to go over 5 huge new features in the game that I think is going to make this one of the best Diablo games and one of the best action RPGs we've seen in a really long time. So let's get straight into this with the first one, mounts. Diablo 4 will feature mounts and riding mounts. So mount armor, mount trophies, and lots of other customizable stuff for your unique mount. We don't fully know exactly what we'll see with this, but there's going to be different types of mounts, different looking mounts. There's one, I think, for pre-ordering the game, and then there's going to be others in the game that you can get. There's going to be mount armor, which will change the look of how your mount looks. And then there's something called mount trophies, and we expect this is going to work the same as The Witcher 3. So how that would work in that game is you kill a certain mob, a certain boss, and you would get a ghoul head or a zombie head or a griffin head, and you would hang that off the back of your horse as a trophy to show that you've killed this huge boss. In Diablo 4, we could expect this to be in the same sort of aspect, but for certain achievements or tasks that you complete, you'll be able to hang this trophy on the back of your horse as a sign that you've had one of these amazing feats and accomplishments. We haven't seen any form of mounted combat yet, but we have seen these mounts used to start fights. So barbarians jumping off the back of their mounts into combat, rogues performing jump shots while dismounting, so they jump off the front of their horse and then lay loads of arrows on the battlefield. It's a really cool new feature, and I'm excited for it. I mean, mount collecting and mounts in games is always fun, especially in MMOs. So this is something I'm looking forward to. Next up, this ties massively into the first one because you're going to need the mounts for this, and this game is open world. This is an open world action RPG, an open world Diablo, which is amazing. I personally didn't expect this to work as well as it does, but after playing the beta and traveling around this map, it's really, really good. The map's broken down into sections, and it's filled with dungeons, quests, gatherable resources, items, secrets. You can go down a path and find a little town. It's going to have its own story, lore, a blacksmith, a trader, its own side quests. It really does feel like an open world adventure, which we haven't had really in a Diablo game at this level. There's events, there's world bosses. The map itself has like a completion percent, so find things, discover new parts of the map, complete side quests, all these different things tick off a completion collectible system. And the more you do, there's rewards, gold, skill points, experience, and the collectibles and achievement hunters out there. There's going to be so much to do here in the open world that it's fantastic. It adds so much depth to the game. The one thing I do want to talk about is the world events. These have really, really surprised me in the beta. As you travel around this open world, you'll see big circles on your map, and these are pop-up events that be completed for rewards. So surviving waves of enemies, rescuing civilians, defending a certain point, or some other like cool interactions. Completing these gives you a chest, and then meeting certain criteria gives you additional rewards. Now, we did see something similar in Diablo 3 where you would find like, I can't remember what they're called, they're like event chests, and you would hit them, and it would say, do this, and you'll get the chest. But now these are events in the open world that you go and find, which is a really cool change. And the reason for completing these is you get obols, I don't know. They can be exchanged in town for chest keys used to purchase random items. So you purchase a helmet, and it could be common quality or all the way up to legendary quality. So it's a really different way to reinvent what we already had in Diablo 3. And then onto a smaller change is something called aspects. These are really, really interesting, and you get introduced to them in Act 1. It's a system that can work into your builds. So there's tons of dungeons spread all around the world, and the first time you clear a certain dungeon, you'll unlock an aspect, and these are fixed to the dungeon. So every player will have the same aspect drop for the same dungeon in the same location, if that makes sense. So for example, if there's a small town and there's a dungeon just on the left of that town, every single player will see that dungeon drop the rogue rapid fire ability upgrade, that kind of thing. So it's a really good way to help build out your builds in a definitive fixed way where you're not relying on RNG. So for example, if you're playing as a sorcerer, and there'll be dungeons in certain places on the map that do different things. So there'll be a dungeon that has an aspect to increase damage against frozen targets, one that increases how much burning damage enemies take, one that increases how much your lightning spreads to additional foes. And then as you decide what type of build you want to make, say you decide, okay, I want to be a frost sorcerer, this gameplay is really fun, I'm going to go down a frost build, you can then hunt down those dungeons that have aspects that power up and complement your frost build, which is really, really cool. It reminds me a lot of how Elden Ring works. If you are going for a strength and faith build, you need to hunt down certain talismans, weapons, and armor, and they're in specific locations on the map, and you go and hunt them down and fill out your build. It's going to work the same way in Diablo 4, which is really exciting when in the past, Diablo has relied heavily on getting certain loot to drop from certain monsters. This is a nice way to have a fixed element to that. Okay, next up is the social features. This Diablo game feels so much more like an MMO than the previous titles. Once you finish the tutorial and you unlock the first town, you'll see all the players just roaming around. You'll see people in the inn, in the blacksmith, in the shop. You'll see them heading from place to place, heading in and out of town. And it just feels like a social MMO experience, which is quite refreshing. On top of this, there's an emote wheel. You can gesture, wave, send whispers, and interact with other players. You can trade with someone at a nearby town if you find a really cool axe, and you find let's say you're playing a sorcerer and you find a really cool axe. You can see a barbarian your level in town and trade him this legendary axe you found, which is really, really nice. It makes it easier to find friends and people to play with. I think it's going to be a bit of a love-hate thing for a lot of players. Some people enjoy Diablo as a solo experience where it's their world and they can just do their own thing, and you still can, but this does feel more social and more of an MMO. So I'm not sure it's going to be fully received by everybody, but I think it's a great change, and I'm excited to play this with friends. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And the next one is, if you've seen any trailer, you'll know this big change, and that is the dark setting of this game. I've seen the trailer, and I thought, yeah, this game looks good. This looks a bit darker than the last Diablo, but you've got no idea. This is incredible. They have gone so dark and edgy with this title. It's really surprised me. I won't ruin the story, but trust me, it is brutal. It tells the demonic Diablo story in a way that I always thought Blizzard was scared to go down. This is savage. Like I say, the beta only lets you finish Act 1, and I'm already really surprised. Outside of the story, you just go into a dungeon and there's like pulsating weird monster things, creepy thin fingers clutching at the sides of the walls and stuff. The enemies explode into pools of blood when you beat them, and overall the game is just so dark. From the first trailer to the end of the beta, that dark, mysterious, creepy feeling never goes away. I was completely blown away with how far they've taken it. If you were put off by the shiny, happy glow of Diablo 3, then I can tell you for sure this has gone back to the dark setting of Diablo 2. This, if you're a Path of Exile player, you're going to like what they've done here as well. There's lots of other really cool new features that I haven't discussed in this video. You can upgrade your potions and armor. There's a transmog and a die system. There's a skill tree filled with unique things and abilities and ultimate abilities at the end of it. But these are the big 5 things that I wanted to share that have really surprised and impressed me as part of the Diablo beta. I'm having a ton of fun. I'm just sad we've got to wait 3 more months for it because it's really good. It's really, really good. But that's it from me. Anything you want to talk about in the comments, let me know. Any questions about Diablo, if you've played the beta, what are your thoughts? Anything in this video you want to talk about, happy to answer any questions. Also got a MMO Discord, which I'll link down below if you just want to come and chat with other gamers. That's it though. Take care, have a good weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one.